Assalamualaikum. We are going to present about a review of communication, accommodation and speaking style variation in speech research. My name is SYASYAHUDA binti NORAZMAN. I will present introduction. Communication is important in daily life to share ideas and build relationships. Speaking style also changes depending on audience and context. Factors like age, status, culture, and familiarity influence how people speak. Studying these changes help us understand effective communication. Based on communication accommodation theory, Zhang Yibin and Howard Gill, 2018, focuses on social reason for speech adaptation. Speakers adjust speech to reduce or highlight social differences. For the key concept, convergence becomes similar and divergence emphasizing differences, influenced by social relationship and power dynamics. For the speaking style in speech research, Joachim Listerine 1992 examines speaking styles from a phonetic perspective. Studies a different speech types, rich speech versus spontaneous speech. Focuses on how speech variation is analyzed in research. For the conclusion, Zhang and Gill explain why speakers adapt their speech based on social reason. Listerine explains how speech styles are studied in research methods. Together, they give a complete understanding of speaking style of variation. That's all from me.
My name is Fatin SHADIRAH binti DAUD. My number IPN is IPN 2407-10596. Today, I will be summarizing the first article of our article review, which was titled Communication Accommodation Theory, written by Zhang Yibin and Howard Gill. It was published in 2018 as part of the International Encyclopedia of Intercultural Communication in New Jersey. The article explores something we all experience in daily life, which is the way we naturally change how we speak depending on who we are talking to, which align with our given topic, which is topic 9, style, context, and register. Interesting point about the authors is that Zhang Yibin is of Chinese origin and has an academic background connected to intercultural and cross-cultural communication. Working alongside Howard Gill, who originally developed a communication accommodation theory, Zhang brings an intercultural perspective to the discussion. This background is especially relevant because accommodation become even more noticeable in multicultural and international settings. If we think about our own life, we don't speak to our friends the same way we speak to our lecturers, parents, or supervisors. This everyday experience is exactly what Communication Accommodation Theory, or CAT, tries to explain. According to the authors, communication is flexible and shaped by social context. They describe two main strategies, which are conversion and diversion. Conversion happens when we adjust our speech to become more similar to the person we're speaking with. For example, we might use more polite language when talking to someone older, or simplify our words when speaking to a child. Diversion, on the other hand, occurs when we emphasize differences in speech. This might happen when someone wants to show authorities, maintain social distance, or express group identity. To support their ideas, Zhang and Gill refer to many studies in sociolinguistics and intercultural communication. For example, research shows that adults often slow down their speech and use clearer vocabulary when talking to children. Similarly, people tend to use more formal language when speaking to someone of higher status. These examples show that communication happens naturally across many different settings. The article also highlights how important accommodation is in intercultural communication, where cultural norms may shape expectations about politeness and appropriate behavior. Given Zhang's intercultural background, this perspective adds depth to the discussion. In conclusion, communication accommodation theory helps us understand why we adjust our speaking styles in different situations. It reminds us that effective communication is not just about language ability, but also about social awareness and adaptability. By understanding accommodation, we can communicate more respectfully and effectively across different cultures and communities.
The second article that we have is the Speaking Styles in Speech Research, which is a speech research paper written by Joachim Listeri in 1992. The focus of the paper is to review speaking styles from the perspective of phonetics. The paper aims to provide an overview of how different speaking styles are studied in terms of data, comparisons, phonological correlations, findings, and labeling. To summarize the article, it provides a comprehensive overview of how speaking styles have been approached and analyzed within phonetic and speech research. Listeri's main aim in this article is to synthesize existing research by examining how speaking styles are defined, categorized, and investigated with particular attention given to the types of data used. One of the main focus on this article is the data in types of speech used in speaking style research. It's described that studies typically rely on a continuum of speech ranging from highly controlled to a more naturalistic form. On one end of this continuum is read or scripted speech, such as isolated word lists, sentences, or read text, which allows researchers to control linguistic variables more precisely. On the other hand is spontaneous speech, forms that includes interviews, conversations, task-based interaction, and broadcast speech, which better reflects natural language use but is more difficult to analyze. This article also examines how speaking styles are compared in research. Listeri notes that some studies focus on variation within one style, such as differences in speech speed, volume, or carefulness during reading tasks. Other studies emphasize the contrast between distinct styles, such as spontaneous versus read speech, isolated versus continuous, or casual versus careful pronunciation. These comparisons allow researchers to identify systematic differences in how speech changes depending on communicative conditions. Listeri emphasizes that both types of comparisons are valuable, as they reveal that speaking style is not a fixed category, rather a flexible pattern in speech that speakers adjust according to context and situations. And yet another focus in the article is the phonetic and phonological correlation to speaking styles. Listeri has decided that these correlate into segmental, suprasegmental, and phonological processes. Segmental includes changes in vowel quality, formant values, and consonant articulation, with vowel reduction being one of the most frequently observed phenomena in less careful or faster styles. Suprasegmental traits such as speaking rate, duration, fundamental frequency, which are pitches, rhythm, and pausing, are shown to play a particularly important role in distinguished styles. According to Listeri, prophodic features are often more reliable indicators of speaking style than individual segmental changes because they reflect global adjustments in speech production. Phonological processes like assimilation, elision, and reduction also tend to increase in more casual or spontaneous styles, further proving the point that language is shaped by situational factors. In summary, Listeri discusses the terminology and labeling of speaking styles, noting that the field lacks a single consistent classification system. Researchers use a wide range of labels, which includes spontaneous, continuous, connected, read, careful, and casual speech. Listeri refers to Labov's notion of a continuum of attention to speech, arguing that speaking styles should be understood as gradations rather than discrete categories. This perspective solidifies the idea that style is shaped by social context and situational requirement and speaker's attention. Overall, the article establishes that speaking styles is a concept that cannot be reduced to a single variable.
Today, I will discuss two articles that focus on speaking style from different perspectives. First, Zhang and Joyce 2018 explains speaking style using communication accommodation theory. They show that people adjust their way of speaking depending on social relationship, power differences, and communication goals. The explanation is clear, practical, and supported by real-life examples, which make it easy to relate to everyday communication. Next, Listery 1992 discusses speaking style from a scientific and phonetic perspective. He explained how speaking style are studied in research using different types of speech data and phonetic features. He also compared controlled speech and spontaneous speech and showed that speaking style exists on a continuum rather than fixed category. Although his discussion is more technical, it provides a detailed and systematic understanding. Both articles make important contributions to communication and speech research. Zhang and Joyce focus on social motivation behind speech adaptation, while Listery provides scientific analysis. These two perspectives complement each other and strengthen our overall understanding of speaking style. Overall, both articles are well supported with evidence, show little bias, and are useful for students, researchers, and communication professionals.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad ZULKIFLI. My ID number is IPN 24071057 and I will be presenting the conclusion of our article review. In conclusion, this article review examines two key perspectives on speaking styles that are different but closely related. Zhang Yibin and Howard Scull 2018 explain the social reason why people change the way they speak, using communication accommodation theory to show how individuals adapt their speech in everyday interaction. In contrast, Joaquin Listery 1992 approaches speaking style from a phonetic and rich speech perspective, demonstrating how speech variation can be observed and analyzed through different types of speech data. When considered together, both articles provide a well-rounded understanding of speaking style by explaining not only the social motivation behind speech changes, but also the specific way these changes can be studied. Both articles are clear and accurate, although they have different writing styles. Zhang Yibin and Howard Scull present their ideas in a reader-friendly manner with relatable examples, making the theory easy to understand and relevant to daily communication. While Joaquin Listery's writing is more technical and detailed, making it especially useful for readers who are interested in speech research. The findings from both studies have important implications for education, intercultural communication, and professional setting, as awareness of speaking style variation can help individuals communicate more effectively, avoid misunderstanding, and build better relationships, especially in Malaysia's multicultural society. Our suggestion from this article review is future study should integrate social and phonetic approaches more closely to reflect how social intentions are expressed in actual speech features. Overall, both articles contribute valuable insight and offer a deeper understanding of speaking style in human communication.